Yes.
Because today we have Jon Richards. I'm going to call this Jon Richards versus Jon Richards. Jon led Nomatic from one product to now a globally recognized name in travel. If you've ever seen a Nomatic bag out in the wild, this is the guy behind it. And you have a co-founder as well. I think there's information that you can get that's more valuable than just making money at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you're like going to run yourself into a hole and not be able to order your next purchase order, then it's like, it's obviously not smart.
Right.
But if it's like, no, with these 300 units, we're actually going to prove X, Y, and Z, or customers will tell us how much they love or hate, or we'll be able to change the product and launch a V2 based on this. Like, you can learn a lot by getting product out in the wild. Welcome back to the Startup Ignition Podcast. Thank you so much for watching every episode. We've had so many fun guests, but we have another one today. I'm Tyler. This is Jon.
Hello.
We are your co-hosts, and we have someone very close to our heart here in the studio today because he bears the same name as Jon Richards.
Yes.
Because today we have Jon Richards.
Jon.
Jon.
And I'm John.
There you go.
There we go.
And Jon and I go way back, and actually, therefore, you two go way back. It's been
Yep.
15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I see the gray in your hair, actually.
I know, it's wild.
I have some bad grays. I have to keep my hair really short. Otherwise, I get some salt and pepper going on the
You gotta
sides.
embrace that,
I know.
look.
They're like, you were doing it well. You got the long hair look going down. I can't pull off long hair. I look homeless if I have long hair. And same with a beard too. But okay, we have Jon Richards. I haven't even said who he is or what he does or who the guy is, but he needs no introduction. Jon Richards is the CEO of Nomatic bag and apparel company and wallet company. What do you brand yourself as now?
Gear for life on the move.
Gear for life on the move.
Awesome.
So if you've ever seen a Nomatic bag out in the wild, this is the guy behind it. And you have a co-founder as well.
Let's just say it up front. They're the best tech bags, the best camera bags, apparently. The studio, the one who runs the studio here where we record this, just went gaga over you because he says it's the best camera bag ever made. So if you don't have a Nomatic bag, you're way behind the times. Go get one.
So I said, Jon with Nomatic is here. And then the guy that runs the studio, he's like, Nomatic, you work for Nomatic? I'm the founder. He's like, what? His jaw dropped to the floor. So that's who Jon is. So I have a bio for Jon. Jon, I'm going to read the bio. Jon Richards is the co-founder and CEO of Nomatic, a Utah-based company known for its sleek, functional travel gear and wildly successful crowdfunding launches. You guys have done a ton of those so far. What started off in 2014 as an idea, you designing minimalist wallets, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you started with. I still have mine. Oh, it's in my car. I left it in my car. I have mine still to this day. But that Kickstarter turned into what is now multiple millions of dollars of product that you're doing every year. Sales and through crowdfunding, and Kickstarter is still a huge model for you guys, right? Or not so much now?
Yeah. We still launch products on there. We have 1 or 2 campaigns coming up this year. So
I think one of the best companies to do it. Like you guys are probably one of the models. I'm sure you have a ton of companies and founders coming at you like, hey, how do I do this right? What do I do? You guys have had so many successful campaigns.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's begging you for tips and tricks, but. Jon led Nomatic from one product to now a globally recognized name in travel, selling everything from backpacks to luggage to camera gear, like my dad said, with a background in physical product design and a scrappy customer first mindset. Jon, and I know him from his college days. This is totally who Jon is. He's super into design, super scrappy, super bootstrappy, but also very sleek and actually fashion forward, which is actually
Kind of reminds me of you, Tyler.
a little bit, but he actually did something with it. I didn't do anything with my background, my design background. I like being creative, but I just never had a way to express it. I guess maybe a little bit through technology, but not through like product and design.
Yeah.
I finally got rid of my garish shirt.
Hey,
Yeah, garish.
He's talking about a shirt that I designed back in college.
Tyler
I think I
Tyler had you did that high school brand. That was your brand in high school.
Yeah, that was actually high school. That went all the way back to high school. But yeah, Jon and I are university and college buddies, and we go way back living in the dorms together. And I'm just so excited to have you. So thank you for coming, Jon. I'm seriously stoked to talk to you and just honestly catch up, but also hear more about your background and get updated on what you're doing with Nomatic and what's new. So Before we go though, before we ask any questions, you said you've watched a couple of our podcasts. I got an icebreaker for you. And we're going to do a fun little icebreaker here. And we're going to call this Jon Richards versus Jon Richards. So here we go. Who's ready to play with me? Jon Richards versus Jon Richards. It's going to be easy. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a Who Said That, okay? I'm going to give you quotes that I think are pretty famous entrepreneurial startup quotes.
Okay.
And I want to know
Oh my gosh.
who can get it first. And it's just whoever, if you know it, just blurt out the name, okay? Here we go. You ready? Jon Richards versus Jon Richards. Move fast and break things. Move fast and break things.
It's Steve Jobs,
No, but
Elon Musk,
you're closer than he was.
Wozniak.
No.
I
Okay.
have no idea.
Meta.
Facebook.
Zuckerberg. Hey, John got it first.
Yeah,
1
okay.
point to John.
Okay,
Ding,
there
ding,
you
ding.
go. Okay.
Even though you start out with Edison, you got the point with Zuckerberg.
Okay, go ahead. You said the name first.
Okay, here we go. Ready? If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late.
Oh my gosh, that is Steve Jobs.
He's going to know all of these.
Nope. They're all modern. They're pretty modern.
Elon
They're
Musk.
Modern. No.
Oh my, it's not Bill Gates.
Close.
Paul Allen.
Close to Bill Gates.
Steve Ballmer.
His company was acquired by Bill Gates.
Oh my gosh.
For 20 plus-
Hastings. Reed Hastings.
Reed Hoffman.
Hoffman. I meant.
The
I meant
LinkedIn founder.
Reed Hastings is Netflix. Reed Hoffman. I got the first name.
So Reed Hoffman said that one.
Ah,
Hey,
okay.
1-1. 1-1.
Okay, there we
here.
go.
I'm going to keep track. Okay. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. This is a guy who's very customer facing, very brand conscious, very well known for his I am obsessed with the customer.
We should probably only get one guess so we don't run through all the names. I don't know. Brand, is it Steve Jobs?
Nope.
Okay, that's my guess.
Who's your guess?
Jack Dorsey.
Nope.
Who is it?
Jeff Bezos.
Oh, that was
Jeff
Jeff Bezos.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna get a little bit harder.
Oh, those were pretty hard.
Really hard.
I thought those were kind of
I'm
famous.
gonna
Okay.
fail.
Okay, here we go. Okay. I'll give you multiple choice. How about that?
Okay.
I'll do multiple choice, or I'll change it to multiple choice. A no is just a yes waiting to happen. Drew Houston from Dropbox, Jeff Bezos, Peter Drucker, or Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban.
It was Mark Cuban.
Yes, I've heard that one.
Okay. A no is
I'll be
just
good with multiple choice.
Okay.
but not pulling out of.
Okay, maybe that's unfair. Okay, now we got 2-1 here. Maybe I'll stop keeping track. A no is just a yes waiting to happen. I love that quote, by the way. Okay, here's a good one. John, you'll know this one. I skate to where the puck is going, not to where it has been.
Wayne Gretzky.
Boom!
Yeah,
You nailed that
yeah,
one. He
yeah.
knew that one. There we
That's
go.
a good one.
That's a good one, though. And I think that's applicable to everything. Okay, last one. Actually not last one. Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100 hours every week.
Elon Musk.
That is Elon Musk. Oh man, I think it's actually
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Every overnight success is 10 years in the making.
I've heard this one.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Alex Hormozy?
No.
Cody Sanchez?
No.
Oh.
But you're close.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
No. It's Tom Clancy.
Oh, Tom
What?
Clancy.
Every overnight success is 10 years in the making. Okay, here's a modern founder. Okay, here we go. Build something 100 people love, not something 1 million people kind of like. Let me repeat that. Build something 100 people love, not something 1 million people kind of like.
No idea.
He was a YC founder, and he says he actually got this from
Paul Graham.
He said he got it from Paul Graham.
Oh, got from Paul Graham.
That's what he says, but he's the one famously quoted for it. It's Brian Chesky of Airbnb.
Okay.
I love these are good quotes. Anyways, okay, we'll call it a tie. Let's just do that. I don't know.
I give our guest credit.
Actually,
He
yeah,
won.
John
He
got
won
a couple
3-2.
of them. You only
He
got the
won
multiple
3-2.
choice one, so he kind of
3-2.
cheated
There you
anyways.
go.
Stop while I'm ahead, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
It was
job.
good.
Okay.
It was a good quote, though.
Yeah, Jon versus Jon. I loved it. That's so funny. You're both Jon Richards. And we obviously knew that back all the way in the day when I was going to college. I think when I first met you, I'm like, dude, my dad's
And you
It's
have a
always
brother
been a
named
fun
Jon, too,
story.
yeah, and my brother's name is Jon Jr., right?
It's always been a fun thing. Yeah.
And then we're really close friends with a lot of Johns, and we call them all by nicknames or initials or something just to keep it all straight. But yeah. Okay, so I want to dive into your background, Jon. Like I know you, I do know you, and I know where you grew up and went to high school. But for all the viewers and listeners, like, where does this begin? How does the whole Nomatic and your entrepreneurial journey start? Take us back to wherever
Even
you want to
before
take
Nomatic, but I mean, were you entrepreneurial in high school?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So first I want to correct the intro.
Oh shoot, was the intro bad?
Well, no, it was great. You just said I was the CEO. I want to give credit where credit's deserved. My business partner Jacob's been the CEO.
Oh, he's been the CEO.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Jacob's awesome. He's my co-founder and cousin, actually.
Oh.
We are distant. I guess we're first cousins once removed. We tell everyone that we're cousins because it's easier not have to explain how the genealogy works.
Once removed means a generation. Who's in the generation?
So me and his mother are cousins.
So he's young.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My dad was the youngest in that family, and his mom was one of the older ones.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It kind of like balanced out so that I grew up with my cousin's kids. A lot of my cousin's kids.
Wow, that's crazy.
Age.
So how close is he to you in actual age?
He's a year older than me.
Oh, he's actually older than you. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So we love Jacob, grew up with him. We actually, both of our parents had cabins in Montana. So we grew up going up to West Yellowstone every summer and playing on the lake there. And we'd get jobs in town and like bus tables and stuff. So cool. Had a lot of fun on that upbringing. And then you asked about entrepreneurship. It did kind of start in high school. I actually started working for a company called Lovesac, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, they were booming and it was exciting. I was kind of in retail sales there. But then the company kind of hit some roadblocks and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And in that process, I decided, you know what, rather than like going and finding another retail job, I'm just going to start my own thing. So I just started cleaning garbage cans. So I'd follow the garbage truck around on Wednesdays, was when they'd pick up the trash. And I would just ask people to clean their garbage cans. And I would spend one day working and I'd make as much as my friends who were working a full week because, you're making $20 a can, you clean, however many, 20, 30, 40 cans in a day. And pretty soon the numbers added up pretty fast. So it was like just a high school kid. It was nasty work, but like it was.
Would you just literally carry a pressure washer around or something?
So I would just bring a hose and soap and a brush and I would use their water supply.
Yeah.
And just knock on their door. And I did the classic, like, hey, I just cleaned your neighbor's cans. Do you want me to clean yours as well? And I would just go house to house and just do that. And I would do it on garbage day because they were empty, and I'd just be able to clean them out. And so I did that for like a year, maybe 2 years. I was able to save up enough money to go on a humanitarian trip and then obviously a mission, served a mission in Argentina and came back, went to BYU. That's where we met. Mm-hmm. And I guess we met our freshman year. So that was pre-mission.
Yeah.
But
2006, baby.
You were in Mexico and I was in Argentina. And
I remember that, yeah.
Good times. But coming back, I just decided I wanted to do construction management. I just had this vision of like, dude, one day I'm going to build like temples. Like I'm going to just build.
Or like airports or something.
Awesome buildings.
Yeah.
And so I did the construction management program at BYU for a semester. And I was like, these are not my people. Like, I just don't feel like I belong here. And for whatever reason, it just felt off. And so I was like, all right, I'm going into business. And so started the business program. Luckily I got in. I was on the wait list and I wasn't expecting to get in. But they let me in. And then, the rest is history. I took a job in sales out of the BYU. I guess I had the entrepreneurship emphasis at the time. It wasn't a major yet, but I went to BYU with the emphasis in entrepreneurship. And out of college, took a job at Bamboo HR doing software sales.
Straight out of school?
Yeah.
Oh, just doing sales?
Sales.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I was just doing 100 calls a day and same kind of thing. Like within a couple months of doing that, I was just like, I'm destined for so much more, like.
Well, how was the sales job? Was it tough?
It was awesome. I loved the culture at Bamboo. I was employee number 100. They were still a small, felt like startup environment there. It was growing rapidly. I had really good sales leaders, Jed Smith and a couple other mentors that were just awesome individuals, awesome humans. But I hit my sales quota faster than anyone had ever hit their sales quota. Wow. And I was like really good at sales, but I realized the secret was you just needed to make more calls than everyone else. So I'd get in an hour earlier and I'd leave an hour later. And I was able to make a really good living there. But like I said, after 8 months of doing that, I was just like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. I'm sick of making 100 calls a day.
How long were you in the sales role?
That was 8 months.
I know a lot of founders, the ones that have actually taken an in the trenches sales role are pretty good founders. Like they know how to sell. So when it comes to their own product, they implement what they've learned elsewhere at a different startup or different company. And I just feel like it's a good skill to have. Yeah. Honestly, it's a good milestone to hit in your entrepreneurial journey.
Or else they're saying, I want to hire salespeople. I don't want to be a salesperson.
Oh yeah. Or it could go the opposite way where they absolutely loathe sales. But I'm just saying, I think a lot of good founders need that skill set of you need to learn how to sell.
Founders should never get away from sales.
Yeah.
Totally. So that's, as we were at Bamboo HR, I actually went to a jazz game with my cousin. We were sitting there talking about like, let's start a business together, or just kind of like joking, like, should we buy some vending machines, or like, what should we do to like make a buck
something
on the side?
Yeah.
I told him what Kickstarter was, and he kind of grabbed onto this idea, and he went home and started researching Kickstarter. And within like a week, he had messaged me back. He's like, dude, there's something here. Like, this business model is super interesting. You basically get all your funding up front. You get your customer base up front. You get to prove out your product and your price point before you even go to market with it. And then you can go manufacture it. People are willing to wait for it. And then you deliver something that is better than what you originally promised. And so he had this whole, he really leaned into it hard. I'm like, let's try it. I've never launched a Kickstarter before. And so like you said, we launched a minimalist wallet. This is the first product we ever launched. It's just the pull tab.
Has that changed?
Yeah, it's changed a bit. So first of all, it was called the Basics wallet.
Yeah. I remember, when it was called Basics.
Initially, we were Basics Products. That was the name of the company.
I remember that.
So we just wanted to create like everyday carry items, like a notebook and wallet, watch, things that you wear or keep with you every day. And then we kind of had to pivot because we got a cease and desist on our notebook. Someone was Basics Office Products company out of Canada was like, you can't sell the Basics notebook anymore. And so we kind of were like, we did some research and found out there were 1,600 trademarks on the name Basics. And so we were like, we're not going to be able to exist as Basics anymore. Let's change the name. And we were developing a travel bag at the time because we were obviously like, let's make the bag that you put everything into. And so we researched a ton of names. We got a domain list of like 1,500 different domains. We scrubbed the whole thing for anything that was like 7 letters or less. And we narrowed it down to like 2 or 3. And we ultimately decided on Nomatic, which at the time was super scary for me because Basics felt like it was such a brand identity at the time. Like we'd been running for 2 years as Basics. And so for me, it was like, no one's going to remember us. Like we're going to be forgotten if we make this name change. But now looking back, I'm like, dude,
did you get the URL at that time?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like why we decided on the name.
I feel like that's every entrepreneur's thing. It's like, if the URL is available, let's just call our whole company and brand that name.
Such a silly thing. And I was like, let's just choose like, doesn't really matter if it's a .com. Like, let's just find something that we like. But Nomatic ended up being a really good name because
excellent.
It really jives with like the brand we've developed.
Yeah, when you have a D instead of a T, it's consistent with your gear on the go type philosophy.
Yeah.
Right? Nomadic. You're a nomad.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where the name came from. That's that's when we decided to make that change. But that was a big change for us.
So you had never done a Kickstarter before, and you had just shared with your cousin. We now know that's once removed, but not true cousin. But you were sharing with him, hey, let's do something. What year was this? Was Kickstarter like a pretty stapled thing, or is this pretty early in the days?
This is 2014. I think Kickstarter probably launched in like 2009, but they didn't really start gaining traction until like 2010.
But Utah was an early leader. I mean, during my time, I stopped teaching at BYU in 2013, but Kickstarter was huge during my last few years. So many BYU and students and Utah people launched Kickstarter.
Well, I think it had to do a lot of around the regulation and laws, right? Like it wasn't allowed, or what? Or in Utah always was allowed, or what? Was it ever?
No, you're confusing probably with equity crowdfunding. Regular crowdfunding like that was fine.
I'm
rewards-based. That's rewards-based crowdfunding.
Right.
Equity crowdfunding.
If you're buying a product, it's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just a pre-sale.
Mm-hmm. But there was stuff. I mean, it was bad. There were several cases where people did a Kickstarter, raised millions of dollars, and never came out with a product.
Yeah,
that's a problem because there was no recourse.
They can't. There's nothing they can do because in the wording, it's like you're giving a donation to this campaign, and in reward, they'll send you a product as a reward.
A spiff.
Man, was that common?
It's happened. Like I've backed at least 2 Kickstarters that have run off with the money. Like this one company did these super screen things, they called it, and it was like basically an iPad that extended from your like MacBook or whatever. So you could have like an extra
Another
screen.
Yeah.
But they like pitched it as this really amazing thing, raised millions of dollars and just
make a
disappeared
good
off
video and get millions of dollars and walk away. And Kickstarter keeps 5%, right?
I mean, where do you go if you just run away with millions? Aren't like hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of people going to hunt you down?
I don't know.
The problem is everybody that's donated has checked the box on accepting that.
Yeah, it's a donation. That's crazy. But
it's still not good for that person who pulls that off.
Yeah,
their name's going to be tainted. But
right. Those people I think are rare. What usually happens when they take your money is they launch a campaign and they don't realize how much it actually takes to like create something, and they get to the point where they're like, "Crap, we're out of money."
Or
so they're not able to actually deliver anything. That's happens a lot.
I feel like that's way more forgivable than just scamming people.
And their product vision was too big and they couldn't deliver. I mean, they're just the product they thought would be an 8, 9, or 10. It comes out and people think it's a 4 and they fail. Yeah, that's
that probably happens.
Right?
That happens. Yep.
But in your circumstance, that obviously went well. People were coming out and saying, "Wow, this is like an 8, 9, 10 for Nomatic."
There's been some incredible stories out of BYU and Utah County for incredible successes on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. So we launched 15 different campaigns and we've raised over $16 million through crowdfunding throughout the course of our
all
company.
On Kickstarter, or do you use others sometimes?
So
there was Rocket Hub.
Yeah, so when we would finish a Kickstarter campaign, we would go over to Indiegogo.
Indiegogo was a big one for years, that kind of thing.
And that was because they actually offered pre-orders and Kickstarter didn't. Kickstarter, you had to do a set campaign for a set duration.
Yeah.
But when that would finish, then you'd have this 1 month to 6 month gap that you didn't actually have the product yet, that you could have continued to do sales, but it would drop off. So previously we would go to Indiegogo and we'd just run pre-orders for 4 or 5 months.
So what Indiegogo would first have a phase 1 where it was the donation, rewards-based crowdfunding. And then when that was completed, you could still take more orders.
Yes.
And those were just pre-orders based on the promise.
Exactly.
But those would be real orders, not a donation.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So then you are incurring liability.
Yeah. That one, it's like every 11 days, the cash would clear and you have to you're responsible for sending those products out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Indiegogo used to offer that. Now Kickstarter does offer pre-sales as well. So you can switch on Kickstarter now and just keep taking pre-orders.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't hear about Kickstarter as much anymore.
So
maybe because it's so saturated?
This is my opinion on it. Our success on Kickstarter was directly tied to how well Meta ads were performing at the time, Facebook ads. So we would create a campaign. Within a week or two, we would know whether or not that was going to be a multi-million-dollar campaign just based on how well our ads were performing. And we found that conversion rate on Kickstarter was actually higher than our own website. We were building this social platform on Kickstarter and we were driving traffic from Facebook to Kickstarter, and then it would convert even better there. And so in some cases, we would be doing $10,000, $20,000 a day of just revenue, I guess, pre-sales, but really it was just Facebook driving all of that traffic. Facebook in the last, gets ever since the updates they've done and everything, it's getting harder and harder. It's getting more diluted. The spend doesn't go as far on that platform. So now getting a 2-to-1 return on Kickstarter is really hard to do now. So I'm just saying from driving Meta ads directly to Kickstarter, it doesn't work as well for us. I know there's brands that pull it off, but you have to have a more innovative product. You have to have something that's more groundbreaking, more disruptive if you want it to go viral on Kickstarter.
Where people are sharing it.
So you're saying early days, a huge amount of your revenue was from Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But now sitting here today, that pie revenue chart, how much is from Kickstarter percentage-wise?
Nothing. 1 to 5% in any given year. Okay. And so last year we did 32 million in revenue. And I think of that, I think $200K was from Kickstarter.
And so your omnichannel, what's your top channel?
So our website is the majority of our sales. And then you've got Amazon's probably the next biggest bucket. And then we have a wholesale,
So the website's DTC, so you're not paying the middleman like Amazon.
Right.
Yeah. Are you do FBA or FBM?
So we do FBA for Amazon. And
so for our listeners, explain the difference.
Yeah. So fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by merchant, right? So essentially you either ship the inventory to Amazon and they hold it and ship it for you, or you're literally doing the shipments yourself. I don't know if you're allowed to use their warehouses for that or not, because I've never done it, but with FBA, like we ship them a very specific amount of inventory and they know exactly when it's going to run out. They tell us when to restock it and they're constantly doing the ship.
Have you ever had to take inventory back from them because it didn't sell fast enough?
One time in Q4, I remember we had some slow moving product and they were like, this has been sitting for 3 months. We need you to take. And it was like one of our SKUs. It wasn't a big amount.
Where did you store it when it came back?
We have a returns warehouse in Pleasant Grove.
Okay.
So we just shipped it back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the majority of your sales are just on your own e-commerce website.
Probably like 50-60% of our sales.
Oh, that's really good.
So how much of your sales is through promotional marketing versus word of mouth?
So when we have a post-purchase survey. So after they buy, the number one thing on there is like word of mouth, like in terms of where did you hear about us?
Yeah, well, like that situation that we just had here in the front lobby of our studio, like the guy raves about it, right? The bags are amazing. It's the best thing. I've had it for 4 years. I take it everywhere.
So what? So word of mouth, number one. So what's like of the channels? What's the paid advertising, paid promotion? What's your number one paid channel?
So if you're talking like top of funnel, when you're looking at a marketing funnel and how you're driving traffic, Meta, Google, Instagram, all the paid section, that accounts for like 70 to 80% of our top of funnel traffic.
Right.
Yeah. So the majority of people are actually learning about us there first. They'll say they learned about it from word of mouth, but it's because they're seeing our ads, they're doing the research, and then they bump into a buddy in the front office here and they're like, you have that bag, do you like it? And they're like, this is the best bag I've ever had in my life. And then they go buy and then they say it was word of mouth, even though they had 7 touch points.
That's what a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand. It's not just one method. It's literally, it takes about 5 instances of interaction with your product before they buy that they hear. So, and they hear about it from all these different channels. Like you got to run 3 different paid promotions. Then somebody tells them a great word of mouth story. And then you hit them just right with something next and then they buy, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to track and know exactly how that all comes through.
It's impossible. And so we had to shift our mindset actually years ago. We shifted from focusing on direct meta ads to focusing on just marketing as a whole. Because we had to start looking at our brand and say, okay, we're spending, this much on mailers where we send an actual physical mailer into their mailbox. This is TV advertising. This is meta advertising. And we just had to do all of it. And you watch everything kind of rise and it's like, okay, now we're finally getting a 4-to-1 return or whatever we needed to make our margins work. Mm-hmm. But if you just look at one channel, you just put all your money into meta, then it's like, you're able to track it a lot easier because you know exactly where the traffic's coming from. But at the same time, they need touch points from lots of different spaces.
And in the reverse, let's say you take one of those channels and say, I don't think that one's performing. I'm going to cut that one. And then all of a sudden your sales go down. And it's not because that one was really performing on its own. It was part of the mix.
Part of this funnel.
Getting like, the average purchase takes like 5 sales attempts by a company. So they see a meta ad, then they see Instagram, then they hear a good word of mouth. And then now here comes another Instagram and then back to meta for the 5th one. And it was the 5th meta that got them to click.
Yeah.
But the others all contributed.
Right.
And that's really, really hard to track.
But when you were doing the wallet, did you have all this figured out? You didn't have all this figured out, did you?
So that's what I was saying back in 2014 when we launched the wallet, like Meta was the place. It was the only place. In fact, there's very few brands were spending there. Like if you saw our ad, it would be next to someone being like, lose belly fat instantly. And the next ad would be like, this is some campaign for some political thing. Yeah. Like it was it was the Wild West back then. And so,
but it was very high performing for there was a while where Facebook was unbelievable.
Our company was on meta ads like crazy too. Like we would pump a ton through. And then when Instagram came out and everything, I mean, for a while it was just Facebook and then advertisements went on to Instagram. Those all performed so well back in the early teens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like Instagram would be good for you.
Yeah, it does. It does well. We have a pretty big audience in Instagram. It's a lot more curated. And so our audience is like professional that, especially now that we have camera bags, like the amount of UGC, like user generated content that we get from these creators. So people like him that carry his camera with them all the time, they produce very high quality content.
Yeah.
And they're constantly posting about how much they love their bags or whatever.
Yeah,
and so
awesome.
We just have this like flow of content now
just
that we can
engine,
repurpose.
just a viral engine. Of
so, so that's just fascinating.
Well, I have a question. We at Startup Ignition, we now have a venture fund, but it started out as a startup boot camp. The brand really, we taught people what to do and what not to do. And it's heavily based on like lean startup principles where you're validating a market, validating a product before you're going and making it, producing it, spending all this time, effort, energy, money into getting all the, the product out to market, right? In a way, what you're doing with Kickstarter is like you're kind of validating the market
100%.
Before you're actually spending the dollars building.
Yeah,
anything.
that's not in a way. I used to talk 15 years ago when Kickstarter first came out. I said, this is amazing.
It is the way.
Because consumer products, tangible products had a very hard time actually doing lean startup. When lean startup first came out circa 2007-ish, it was really good for software and online companies and mobile apps. And you went and had to talk to customers and you could do that. But tangible products, how do you get a tangible product made in prototype form to give the person an idea when you're going to sit down and interview them and this is what the product's going to be? The idea that you could make a promotional video with a virtual product represented in the video, play it online for somebody and have them pre-order it was amazing, right? And that was incredible lean startup testing.
Yeah. The perfect example I give of that is when we launched our first travel bag, all the comments started rolling in like, why do you not have waterproof zippers on this? And it's something we hadn't even considered. Yeah. And so then we're like, dude, let's just swap it. So we swapped the zippers for waterproof. And then everyone got a product that they were happier about and excited about rather than.
So you would change the product from launch.
Yeah. So we'd be like 80% when we launched the campaign. And then we would make tweaks as the campaign would go based on feedback.
That is literally the definition of lean startup.
I was bringing that up to just pull in the similarities of like, you basically drink the same Kool-Aid that we drink is like, you're testing the market, you're validating the product, you're testing and validating the customer before you even sink any dollars into it. So, other than the first initial R&D or initial designs, which I'm sure you have a pretty mature process around. But back in the wallet days, you probably didn't put too much into the wallet before you actually built the campaign, got a lot of feedback, and then shipped out an awesome wallet to everybody, right?
Yeah, the wallet was a little different because we could actually prototype it like in our basement because it's
Very
just
easy,
elastic.
Yeah.
So like we would make them, give them to people and actually get feedback.
But the
before we
Nomatic
went and
travel
launched.
bag.
But that travel bag.
That's a
You
little
can't make that in your basement.
No. And when we got it from Asia. We actually had a manufacturer in China lined up and we were like, all right, it's pretty good. Like we flew out there. It felt right, but it was kind of like, it wasn't quite what we wanted. We ended up sending that best prototype we had to a factory in Vietnam. And the prototype we got back was like 10 times better than what we were getting out of China.
Really?
And we're like, all right, we're going to go with this factory now. And we actually made a change mid-campaign to who our manufacturing partner was going to be. And we've stuck with them all of these years. So like they're still our number one partner.
What was the difference? The materials or something?
The quality, just overall like stitch quality, the build, like they just understood the technical side of how you create a bag better than these Chinese factories.
Let's frame this. Okay, for our viewers and listeners, especially those outside Utah, and we have a pretty good audience building outside of Utah. Utah is really known for software, SaaS software and things like that, but it's actually a huge hotbed for consumer products too, what you do. Really, putting out well-designed, thoughtful consumer products. And we're sitting here with you, one of the kingpins of that in Utah. And I think we all want to learn from that. So I got some questions about your business. So when people start a business like what you're doing, one of the first things that they have to go explore, even though Kickstarter is a great way to do lean startup and do this, they at some point have to choose a manufacturer. Okay. So that's been a problem for a lot of people. And tell us the story of, and maybe not with the wallets, that was easy. Let's take the most complex product after the wallet was like a bag. Was that it?
Yep.
Okay. So your first Nomatic bag, which is kind of famous. How did you find a manufacturer and how did that work out? And where'd you choose to do it? Tell that whole story.
Okay.
Because that's huge for these entrepreneurs.
No, it's actually really valuable. And it's a lesson that I actually had to learn because my business partner, Jacob, he actually came from a sourcing background. So he had learned how to do this process. And it's not rocket science. There's not like some secret tip that I can give you to be like, here's the thing you have to do. But I will say,
but your story will teach lessons.
If you do it more simple than you think. So a lot of people get this idea in their heads like, oh, I have to, get introduced to a specific factory, or I have to know them, or I have to have volumes to be able to get specific factories. And some of that is true.
Volumes does come into play.
It does come into play. But there is a little hack here that I'll give you, which is like, if you want to find a manufacturer, let's say I'll just use bags because it's what we're talking about right now. Let's say you want to find a bag manufacturer. What I would do is I would go on Alibaba and I would look at all the different bag manufacturers that make the type of bags that you want to make and the quality you would want. You look and make sure that these are established factories. They can't be started within the last couple of years. We're talking like 5 to 10 years plus, okay? You find these factories that have, at least 100 employees, not some small like 10 employee operation that's operating out of a small place. So you make sure they're established, you make sure they're legit. But then what you do is you just type the factory name into Google, and you go to Google and you find an email from like a salesperson on their team. Rather than going through Alibaba and using that platform and getting spammed with messages and all that, just find out who this factory is, find out what the name of the factory is, go find an email of someone that works at that factory, email them directly. And what you want to do is essentially just position yourself to say, I'm Jon, I'm going to launch this product on Kickstarter. Historically, products on Kickstarter do this well. I would love to prototype with you guys if you're open to it. And so then you kind of build a relationship with this person. We did this though with probably 10 factories. And then we narrowed it down to like our top 2 or 3. We actually flew out to China, which everyone gets intimidated with this as well, but it's not as scary as you think. You fly to the country, you meet with these people in person.
So you didn't go through brokers.
No.
What's your, not to interrupt you, but your quote, what about brokers? Yes or no?
So
middlemen, agents or whatever. Yeah.
That's a really tricky question because the factory we ended up with was brought to us through a middleman.
Okay.
But I will say that had we gone about it the way that I'm teaching you right now.
The Vietnam one or
Yes.
the Chinese one?
So ultimately, this is what happened. You guys have probably heard of, there's a guy named Joseph May who started a company called Breton Bags.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joe May is a great guy. He's like, I have a really good factory if you're interested. He made an intro to someone who was a middleman that introduced us to this factory.
Okay.
So it wasn't like us going to the middleman and saying, will you help us source this product overseas? It was more
I didn't want to take you off course, but I just want to know but you said you went direct first.
Yeah.
And then you did meet the best factory through a middleman.
Yes.
So just keep your eyes and ears open.
Yep.
Okay.
I think so. I think the thing though that I will say is we have spent the last 3 years trying to unwind this middleman relationship.
Really?
Because what can happen is they'll charge 1% or they end up charging more at the factory level to get their percent off the top without telling you. So
Yeah.
I don't know however they're doing business, there's a chance that they're getting some kickback somehow.
Yeah.
And if that continues year after year after year, when you grow from, at the time we were doing $1 million a year to now $30 million a year, this third party middleman made over $1 million in 1 year just based on the volumes that we're doing, which is crazy for one introduction and not pulling weight in anywhere else.
Isn't it? I mean,
So we've tried our very hardest to unwind those relationships, and it gets really messy and sticky. And so my personal opinion is like, if you can do it yourself, you're better off, obviously, if you can find someone you trust. But the middlemen are there for a reason. It's because they have connections to these trusted factories.
So back to your hack, because I took you off that.
No, you're good. Back to the hack.
Find an email.
You find an email.
Go directly to a salesperson for that factory.
Email them directly and just choose, keep your own little spreadsheet or whatever. Just choose your top 5 to 10 factories. Start communicating with those people. Jump on a Skype call with them. Test how good is their English. How good are they communicating? And then you kind of narrow that down to like your top couple. You fly out there, actually meet with those people, and you'll know immediately. Like when we walked in those facilities, there was one where I looked at my partner and I'm like, oh, we have a meeting we have to get to. I just made something up because I'm like, we need to get out of here. Like this is not
what the facility was just so bad or
something? It was just so bad. Like
how's the English?
The English just depends. They'll usually have a salesperson that speaks perfect English and they'll do either translating or 50 to 60% of the time, the people like the management actually speaks English really well.
Let's talk. Okay. You have more to go on now. I'm going to talk about volume. So that's the thing too. Sometimes the volumes are 5,000 units and they only want to get 500. How do you get around volume issues?
So volume for us, it was obviously for the very first one, we found a factory that it was wallets. So it was like they were willing to make something that wasn't very complex, right?
But
for the bag, we had a proven track record where we had raised $170,000 on our first Kickstarter. We'd raised $380,000 on our notebook Kickstarter. And when we went to launch the bag, we had thousands of customers at this point. It was
so what was your first order with the bag?
Our first bag order, we did 3 million in pre-sales within 60 days. So I think we ordered I want to say we ordered 7,000 bags.
Oh, so you could do that because of what you raised.
Because of
a lot of entrepreneurs that don't get that, they can't pull that off.
Right. So then you would have to go to minimum order quantities. And depending on the factory, you're looking at 300 bags or something.
Talk to a lot of people, negotiate. And it's Wild West negotiation too, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the negotiating is tricky because they'll come at you with a price that you're going to end up trimming down a little bit. And what we usually do is we come back to them and say, we need it to be here. And that's what we just draw a line in the sand, and it's usually a little bit lower than what we really need. It's like, we need our price to be $50 for this bag. Can you get it there or not? And they'll be like, oh, we can get it to 55. And then it's like, all right, well, if we can get it to 52, we'll so you kind of just trim down.
Tell us about gray market, black market, copycat, that whole thing that everybody's always
Is that happening to you guys?
I would say it's more of a volume thing. Like Cotopaxi, it's happening too. So you travel to Asia, you actually see Cotopaxi bags getting ripped off in stores there and stuff. Like, I think they're 100 million plus now. I think if you're our size, that's not really happening.
Because they need a brand that's well known to be worthy.
It needs to
totally rip off the name and everything.
Someone needs to walk into a store and say, that's a Cotopaxi bag for $5 or whatever instead of 50,
But is gray market, black market, and copycat, that whole arena, a concern for somebody like you?
I would say it hasn't been, but it's because I've built a really good relationship with our factory owner to the point where it's like, I trust him. I know he's not just going to go behind my back and try to produce this.
But that could happen.
Could happen. And I've seen it on Alibaba. I've seen our bag where they've literally taken images from our site and said, we will make this backpack. Yeah. We've had probably 5 to 10 e-commerce brands pop up that have a version of our bag with a different name on it. It happens, right?
Yeah.
And they're getting it produced not even at your Vietnam factory, it's somewhere else.
Yeah. They're making it
literally
just
else. Straight up, hey, copy this design.
Exactly.
I'm going to keep going down my questioning if that's okay.
Let's do it.
So let's talk about unit economics. And you don't need to share yours if you don't want to, but you can. We teach a hard principle. You need at least 4x unit economics. So whatever your landed, ready to ship cost is, you need to charge MSRP of at least 4x, or you don't have a real business. Do you agree with that statement?
Very similar. We're 5x on our initial cost, not landed. So we'll get the cost of the bag back and we 5x that, which probably ends up being about 4x landed once you include packaging and shipping and everything else. So,
so just the manufacturing 5x. Okay.
Yeah.
But so you have to, but unit economics, how important are they to you in running this business?
They're very important. Super important.
I want you to teach everybody how important that is. And that's why, because we get, in my history, I've mentored thousands, right? Mm-hmm. So I get these CPG entrepreneurs coming in and they say, yeah, I've tested, I can sell this for $179. And they'll say, I go, what's your landed costs on this? $93. Mm-hmm. $93 landed cost with $179
retail.
That's not even good enough almost for DTC to even skate by.
Right.
And you're never going to be able to do it through Amazon or Costco or Walmart.
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of people
explain all that.
Yeah. A lot of people come to us and they critique us because they're like, oh, your products are so expensive or whatever. It's like, we have to charge 5x our cost. Otherwise we make zero margin.
Of course.
And so it's like, if there's been products where we have launched and they have, for example, a higher return rate. So let's say you have, a backpack that looks like another backpack that you sell and people are buying it and then it's not the one they wanted. So they're returning it. That one in exchange, you end up losing, $20 or $30 on that shipping to and from to like replace their bag. Though that kills your margin. That essentially wipes out whatever profit you stood to make on that. And then when you get to when you're on your website, you have these codes that people are sharing that are being linked leaked all the time, right? Yeah. So it's like at any given time, if you were just to go into Google and type Nomatic coupon code, like you're gonna find 10% off for sure, maybe 20% off. If we're not doing a really good job of controlling those codes. So when you look at the total price of what you're charging in those bags, like people now expect to get 10 or 20% off. They expect to see free shipping. They expect to be able to return it if they have any problems whatsoever. And you have to factor all of that into this cost. And when we run our numbers, it's like, okay, we have to be at 5x. Otherwise you don't make money.
Okay. So you're now a rich and famous entrepreneur. So imagine that you're an investor in the future and somebody like you comes to you for investment. So, and they tell you they've got like a 2.8x on their unit economics. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them you either have to find a better manufacturer to get that price down. You have to launch it somewhere like on Kickstarter where you can do volumes that will get you to get a better price, or you're going to have to just charge more. And the one thing I think a lot of people
can't make up for bad economics with more volume because it doesn't improve it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't unless
it's unit economics. It's not company economics. It's unit.
I'm saying on the manufacturing side, let's say you're producing 300 instead of 3,000. Like they'll give you major price breaks if you can produce more, right?
Exactly.
So you have to produce more volume and be able to go back to your factory.
Do you think somebody should do a first, let's say 300 unit order and the economics don't work out? They're taking a loss overall, because the company's expensive to run, right? To get them to where they can start ordering 3,000 and make it profitable. Should they take that risk? Or should they make should the first order have good unit economics that are 4x or better? That's my question.
I think there's more. I think there's information that you can get that's more valuable than just making money at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you're like going to run yourself into a hole and not be able to order your next purchase order, then it's like, it's obviously not smart.
Right.
But if it's like, no, with these 300 units, we're actually going to prove X, Y, and Z, or customers will tell us how much they love or hate, or we'll be able to change the product and launch a V2 based on this. Like, you can learn a lot by getting product out in the wild. The perfect example is our wallet. When we launched this originally, this pull tab right here, we used the laser to cut that little tab, that section where the tab goes in. We cut that out with the laser. What we didn't understand is when you cut elastic with laser, it
melts it.
Well, it melts it, but over time, when you're pulling a tab like this, in and out, in and out, in and out, that starts to fray.
Okay.
And so within a month or two, we'd send out 6,000 wallets. All 6,000 of them started to fray.
Okay.
We're like, holy crap, dude. We're going to go out of business for sure, right? But then we quickly prototyped this version with a ribbon wrapped around right here, and we sewed a ribbon in. And then it was like, we had an opportunity then to go back to our customers that had already purchased and said, all your wallets are going to break down in the next month or two. This is a flaw that we didn't realize we had initially. Like, let's give you guys a wallet for 70% off. This essentially eliminated all of our margin. This was basically giving it to them for free. But what it did for us was it built the trust in the customers to say, oh, sweet, like I'll still pay for it. Like they're going to have to pay 30% or whatever, but for them, it's worth it to get a product that works and performs how they were expecting. And so for us, that was an example of like, we launched something maybe premature that we didn't fully understand if it would break down. It did start breaking down. We quickly fixed it and were able to resell to a lot of those same customers and earn their trust back. And so I think your question's a really good one. Like, should they launch? Should they not launch if their unit economics are good?
Kind of a lot more information maybe needed to make that decision.
It's not just an easy cut and dry. It depends if you're trying to prove or test or validate something, there may be a case to say you should do this.
I'll put you in the investor seat again. Okay, so now somebody comes to you and says and it bears out and their unit economics are like 7x. What do you think if you heard that? Would you believe it?
I mean, there are products like that. Yeah, for sure. If you're seeing those, it's like, dude, this is a really great product.
There's two student teams from my day at BYU. This made 7X. One was Illumable and the other was Snap Power. Those two Utah County based ones. And of course, they didn't need any money because they did Kickstarters and then sold all these things at 7X plus unit economics. So they do their first orders. And it's just, so that's why I try to teach people, say, you got to get these unit economics straightened out.
It's funny how much cost goes into that because you can charge the customer more or you can lower your costs. Those are the two levers you have, right? So,
yeah, I think one thing I was going to say that a lot of people don't understand when they're trying to validate pricing. In Utah, people are cheap.
Yes.
And if you're asking people in Utah how much they would pay for something, they're going to tell you lower than what the national average is.
The old saying,
what do you think that figure is? The difference between in-state and out-of-state?
And the saying in
it's a lot.
Utah, we've said it for 30 years here or 25 years, said, if you can sell in Utah, you can sell it anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, when you're talking about like California or New York, you're like, for example, with bags, sometimes we'll prototype something and say, what would you pay for this? And the feedback in Utah is like, oh, I'd pay $100, $150. You go to like New York or California, like I'll pay $400 for that. And you're like, that's like 3 times what everyone else is telling me. And so you have to do a valid survey with your customer base to say, let's find like, who's your core customer? If it is a Utah customer, then that is what it is. You should price it for Utah people. But if it's like, no, this is an international product that I could sell anywhere in the world, you should get a good demographic to actually survey.
A good group of surveys.
Did you ever hear of the name Warren Osborne?
Yeah.
He's a friend of ours and he's passed away now.
Totally.
But he taught me too also though. But like when you are running those 6-7x unit economics, you're also open to competition, because if you can pull that kind of profit out of a tangible product, competitors are going to be right around the corner.
They're going to notice,
right?
yeah.
They're going to start undercutting your prices, and because they can survive at 5x, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why you kind of really want to be in that 4 to 5x for long term, right?
Yeah.
To make it. Yeah, that's good. So I hope it's okay. I'm kind of grilling.
No, this is great.
This is good.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
No, I think for those entrepreneurs that are seeking out tangible products, CPG products, e-commerce type products, like I think this is really valuable information for them. But back to the validation thing, and I don't think we've kind of put a stamp on this conversation. Should a new CPG entrepreneur do a Kickstarter today? Like, are you saying it's worth the validation, the feedback, and the market and the grouping, maybe the volume-based purchasing and manufacturing that you could get? Is a Kickstarter still worth it if I'm starting tomorrow?
That's such a hard question.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very individual. I would say here's the filter I'd put that through. If the product is unique and special to
Like
the
you
market,
said, disruptive.
you can't just go to Amazon and buy this product.
Yeah.
Then yes, I would say look at Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If you're like creating a new stuffed animal that, right, it's like, that's great, that's cool, but I can go on Amazon and find 100 other ripoff products that look similar to this. Why would I ever want to go on Kickstarter and do that? Like, if you're doing it that reason, but the validating is super important. Like we would actually use, we would do quite a bit of surveying outside of Kickstarter. So we would, for example, when we created the travel bag, we surveyed all our customers to say, when you travel, make a list. Like we had them make lists of here's everything I bring with me. Or we said, what are some of your biggest pain points that you're experiencing as you travel? And we essentially built that bag around the feedback we got from those surveys that we sent out. So you should definitely survey. You should definitely ask people. If you have the ability to prototype it, the very best thing you can do is actually give people physical products that they can test themselves and give you honest feedback on. That's like number one in my book for getting good feedback. Then you're talking about surveys, and then focus groups, I think, are hit and miss depending on if you run them correctly and if you know how to ask the right questions. You're not inserting bias and things like that. But if you can do that in an unbiased way, focus groups can actually be super valuable as well. And then I would say Kickstarter is like
a massive focus
group. It's a massive focus group, and it does all of those things in one, but you just have to be able to invest a month worth of time and energy to build the campaign and get it ready. And it has to be a product that is differentiated in some way.
Yeah.
How important has influencer marketing been to you, if at all?
Influencer marketing is constantly changing. And I would say it's been some of our biggest revenue drivers and some of our biggest fails have come from influencer marketing.
So, we need some stories.
Yeah. So I'll give you the perfect example. We met this guy out here that has a Peter McKinnon bag, right? Like Peter McKinnon was a YouTuber who had, I think at the time, like between 2 and 4 million followers on YouTube, and he taught photography hacks. So someone like him goes and creates a camera bag. His audience immediately trusts him because they're already coming to him for photography hack information. Mm-hmm. So then he says, I launched a camera bag with Nomatic. You should go check it out. We did, with him posting one video, we did 600K in sales from one video. That's the perfect example. Okay,
Wait a minute,
influencer.
Is that good?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like find another person that has that much push power and I'll work with them. No, but that was a huge collaboration, right? That's a perfect example of something that went really well. Now we've had influencers where they say, I've got 2 million followers. I'd love to talk about your bag. Great. What does it cost? It's $10,000 for a post or whatever. Yeah. Great. You pay them 10 grand. They drive like one sale or nothing. And it's like, what happened? What in the world? Like your audience is terrible, or you just push so much product that no one cares or listens to you anymore, right? So you have, in my opinion, influencers are really good to work with if you find someone that's in the vertical that is the vertical that you're in. Yeah. They can add a ton of value to your audience based on the audience that they have. So if they're teaching photography tips and tricks, they're going to be a great person to launch a photography bag.
Yeah.
It's kind of like general business. Like you can't really get a quick win if you put more effort into the relationship or partnership. Like with Peter, you literally made a bag, branded it his, like went all in
Put
on
his
him,
name on
right?
it. Yeah.
Versus just paying a random influencer $10,000 to get a quick win.
Let me ask you, but you're so successful now, but let's go back to if you were starting today and you didn't have the track record of success and you wanted to go influencer marketing. What's the characteristics or traits of an influencer, whatever the vertical is? You could take camera bag or whatever, but is there a minimum number of followers? Is it Instagram versus other? Is it TikTok? What, like right now, if you were starting off a new company with a CPG product, what's the best platform? What's the parameters you're looking for in an influencer that would say, I'll take a risk on this one with my precious dollars?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's an audience of influencers that are these, you hear people talk about macro versus micro influencers all the time, right? You've got these big people that have 2 million, or I guess 1 million plus, let's call it. And then you have people in the hundreds of thousands, and you have people that are like 10,000 or less, and they're just starting to build their following. Now, the interesting thing about this, if you're doing a product, depending on the price point of the product, let's say it's not something cheap that's a couple bucks. Let's say it costs $100 for your product. That's actually a pretty good incentive for someone that doesn't have a pretty big following to post. So you can give away free product. So I would say the first thing I would do is I would have already chosen a product that exists somewhere between, say, $50 and $150, just because you can't make meta ads work unless you're dealing with higher dollar value.
Okay.
If I tried to launch this wallet today, it wouldn't work.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to pull this off. So the reason this worked back in the days is because we were getting 8-to-1 returns on Facebook. Nowadays, you go and do that, it doesn't work. So I would say start with a product that's at least $100, that costs $100. Then you can approach these influencers that have smaller followings. And I would say if you can find someone that is perfect in your audience that has, a couple 100,000 followers, they're more likely than not, they want something to talk about. And if you can build a relationship with them and you just say, hey, maybe you ask what their pricing is initially and they give it to you, but then you just say, I'd love to just send you a product organically so you can see if you like it or not. 90% of the time, they're going to post about that product anyway, without you signing anything, without you paying them, because they're excited about talking about it. It fits within their demographic.
And they're trying to grow an audience.
They're trying to grow. And so a lot of our influencer marketing is just done because we're able to give away a $400 bag. And of course, they're going to post about how they pack out their bag. They're going to post about that. So a lot of that's just quote unquote free. The marketing cost is essentially your cost of product.
I know I kind of took over here with a lot of grilled questions, but I know this is what people want to hear about from him.
Sure.
So let me ask one more, because we are running out of time a little bit here, is what's the single moment in Nomatic's history that really was an inflection point that you said, okay, we're making it now. This is the moment I know we're doing great. What happened? What caused that inflection point? Was it an influencer you went with? Was it you invented an incredibly disruptive product, or combination? What is the moment that you point to that? Because right now you're wildly successful. Okay, so what's the moment?
Yeah, not many people can claim, $30+ million revenue on this, right?
And also your word of mouth and the quality of your product. I mean, I am a convert. And by the way, I got my first bag, if you remember, when you saw me early in Nomatic's history and you said, I ate a lot of food at your house. Here's a free bag. You remember that? Yeah. And I love that Nomatic bag. And then we also have Startup Ignition branded Nomatic bags.
Yeah,
so again, viewers and listeners, we don't shill products on this, but it's a great product. Okay.
I'm wearing Nomatic's pants right now.
Yeah. So what's the the moment you're thinking of?
Yeah. I'm going to I guess there's a couple thoughts I've had as you've been asking this question, because I think there's a couple different facets to this. The first one would be, the success we've had. I like that quote you read about 10 years. Read that quote again, because that I think applies to what he's asking here.
It said every overnight success is 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
So when you say, Nomatic is hugely successful, what was that inflection point? I can point to 100 different times where something worked or something didn't work, and we had something blow up in our face and we had to make a drastic change, like switching our name to Nomatic. But ultimately, when I look back and connect all these dots, all of those things created what Nomatic is today.
Yeah.
And it made us stronger, more capable to survive things like travel bans during COVID or tariff stuff that's going on right now. Like all the challenges we face in today's world are all things that we were able to overcome because of things we faced in the past. And so there have been specific times we worked with an influencer like Peter McKinnon, and it was like overnight camera photographers absolutely love our bags. Yeah. We're in over 200 different camera stores now because of that relationship. So I can point to that and say that was a huge moment, a huge win. When we launched that travel bag on Kickstarter, we went from raising $300,000 on a campaign to raising $3 million. And when we did that, I was like, that for me was a point in my mind where I was like, we're a bag company now.
Yeah.
We're going to make really high quality bags.
You 10x'd.
Yeah, exactly. That just like put in stone, all right, this is who we are today. And that's
so here's what based on that answer, I'm going to reflect back to that answer that I think I'm hearing. I think that it's because number one, you're good operators. What do I mean by that? That you're frugal and not wasteful with money. And all the things from left field that come and could wipe you out, you weren't overexposed because you didn't take too big a risk without counting your chickens before they hatch type of thing. You're just frugal, good operator. So that allowed you to keep going. And then overall, you staying in the game. That allows you to stay in the game. You extended your runway. And then all of a sudden everybody goes, man, and you gave time for the product to be accepted and get good word of mouth and be recognized as a quality product. Because if early on you would have made a huge gamble, used up too much of your capital, and went for the gusto and blew it, game over. Yeah. Right. Do you think I'm describing you guys pretty well?
Well, it's funny you say that because
he's like, stop flattering me.
No, it's the pride cycle, right? It's like we have had moments where we got out ahead of our skis and we said, let's shoot for the moon. Like away luggage just got $1 billion valuation.
Yeah.
Let's go do that. Let's raise capital from investment bankers and let's shoot for the moon. And we go and we push as hard as we can and we get out in front of our skis and realize we're super uncomfortable out here. We're going to fall on our faces. And then we reel it back and say, let's focus on being profitable again. So we go through these cycles where it's like, we see opportunities and we try to take them, but then sometimes we're like, no, we need to remember who we are. Let's focus on being profitable. And a point I want to make here, which is really interesting. Like I said, we did over 30 million last year, but we've done between 20 and 30 million the last 4 or 5 years. So we've done over 100 million of sales. It's not like when you look at our track record, we're just steadily growing year over year, and we're just going to keep taking market share.
But that's good company business building. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, and also I think someday some big, huge conglomerate's going to come in and say, "Look at this, we could take this thing to 200 million in revenue."
Yeah,
right.
And something that's very hard for entrepreneurs such as yourself to really pull off, or it takes 20 years, right? But I'm just saying, I just compliment you on your operating. Well, it's apparent that you've got these great operating skills.
Okay, I'm going to close with 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up because we've actually been talking for over an hour. So one, Jon,
I went fast.
Wait, I know. What's next? What is Nomatic doing? What are you excited about? Where are you going? That's question number 1. And then number 2, in parting of this podcast, what's the one thing you would give like someone where you were 15 years ago? What's the one piece of advice that you're like, this is it. This is what I would focus on or tell myself. Mm-hmm. So that 2-part question.
Okay. Well, I'm a product guy. So I
know you're the designer.
I get super excited about new products, and we've been working on a collection for like 3 years. So we historically have made bags for ourselves, which me and Jacob are men, right? So we make these bigger, bulkier bags that are always black. And
they are always black.
Yeah. And so it's like, what would we want to carry, right? We make it like super sleek, and it's always like masculine. So we've actually been working on a line for women for a long time. And I think we're finally there. Like this year, we're going to launch women's bags. I'm super excited to get
all our female listeners.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
super excited to get into a new category because there's a lot of women who have been asking us for products that are very functional. The women's space right now is very design focused and very little focused on fashion focused and very little focused on design.
Like functionality design.
Yeah. It's just an empty sack. They put everything inside of it. It's like, let's give them some organization and let's make it like put a little Nomatic spin on
women's
it.
line. That's exciting.
Women's
That's awesome.
line. So I'm excited about that. Really excited about that. And then I would say, to answer your second question, which is like, what's the one piece of advice that I would give anyone who's starting out? I would say, and I've given this advice before, but I think it's super important, is like, it's never like, I wish I had a way to like word this that was my own, because this has been said 100 different times by 100 different entrepreneurs. But the gist of it is like, go start now. Like, just whether that's just creating a cardboard prototype in your house, like that's starting. You don't have to find that manufacturer in China to start. Go get a piece of paper, cut some things with scissors, tape it together. That's your first prototype. Go start talking to people about that. Go start getting feedback on that. Start asking them if they would use it. Like, you have to start somewhere. Start as scrappy as you possibly can and just get going, rather than just like stewing in your brain over and over, trying to figure out the perfect business model or the perfect time, or being worried about financing. Like, just go do it.
That's great advice, and it follows the Startup Ignition way.
And honestly, every minute you wait is a minute lost, right? So that makes a ton of sense. So, and then you can end up like Jon, going from the dorm rooms to multiple millions in revenue.
Tens of millions.
Tens of millions, deca millions. So, okay. Thank you so much, Jon, for coming.
Thank you for coming. That was great.
Yes.
This is a treasure trove for CPG entrepreneurs to listen to, for sure.
It's really fun. We've had a lot of lessons throughout the years, and I would just say thanks to you guys for having me on. It's fun to share the story. We don't usually get grilled on like questions like this. It's really fun to be able to share some of the things we've learned in this format.
Tyler and I get in the trenches.
I just find it interesting. I want to know the numbers. I want to know the ratios. I want to know what works and what's not. Like, I'm a meat and potatoes, like practical kind of guy. Like, the raw fluff is awesome. But at the same time, like, the actual hard earned like trenches knowledge is really, really cool. All right. So if you love this podcast, follow Jon. He's a LinkedIn influencer at this point now. He has a ton of followers. He has awesome posts. He's posting amazing things. Go follow Jon on LinkedIn. Not this Jon Richards, even though you could follow him on LinkedIn as well. Follow us on Startup Ignition. Thank you for listening. Comment on this and I will give you one of the Startup Ignition Nomatic bags. Comment on this video. Comment on this podcast. And I will
you'll choose one random
one. We will pick a random winner to give you a Nomatic bag.
Like, that's awesome. A lot of bags.
No, we will choose
I'm gonna go
one.
comment right now.
We will choose one to give away. But thank you so much for listening, and we are out.